Hi, this is Ted Kelly with another Ted's Hospitality Minute. Hey, we've got a great guest on today. His name is Aly Valiani. He's with New Horizons Hospitality. He's going to come on and chat a little bit about what they're doing down in Texas. Sounds like he's blazing the trail down there, and we're all looking forward, obviously, to a positive comeback out of the pandemic. And we're going to have him on and talk a little bit about what they're thinking and what they're doing down there. Hey, Aly, how are you?
Good, Ted. How's it going, bud?
Man, I'm just trying to wait for this thing to pass so we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, man. We've been going through this pandemic here for the last 12, 18 months. We're starting to see some signs of life, which is a great thing. Obviously, there's a lot of folks that are waiting for the hospitality industry to make that turn so that we can revisit where we were, hopefully get back to where we were in 2019. How's your business down there?
Ted, thanks first of all for having me on. And obviously we felt the pain like everybody else during the pandemic. We had to cut about 85% of our staff, and our business levels dropped 85, 90% last year. And so that was a very difficult time for us. We had a couple of hotels that were coming up for financing, and so we had to we moved a couple of assets during the pandemic to focus more on core locations and the better locations that have more diverse business. But it was definitely a period of adjustment and survival mode. I think last year definitely was the name of the game. But we're slowly crawling our way back. Occupancies are starting to build back, primarily driven more by the weekends and leisure business. Corporate is starting to trickle back, but across the nation, Saturdays are averaging 80% occupancy for every hotel in America. So there's definitely a boom with some, I think, extra stimulus money and right, savings that people have accumulated. So that's been beneficial. But we're here in Houston, we're really dependent on corporate travel and oil and gas specifically. So we're definitely waiting for those faucets to turn back on to get back to the pre-pandemic levels. But we'll still wait to see when that's going to happen. Where some companies are telling me after Labor Day, some are telling me 2022, but I think it's just a guessing game right now. Nobody knows for sure, because right, the employer is really not in the driver's seat. The employee is, right? And I'm hearing a lot of stories of people saying, well, trying to bring people back to work. And they're saying, well, I'll just go work somewhere else where I can work from home, So this is definitely going to be an issue in bringing people back to work. But, we survived through it, and we're here. And so we're looking forward to recovering for sure.
Awesome. Now, tell us a little bit about how you got in the hospitality business. I think you guys are family-owned operation, right?
Yep. So my dad actually built his first hotel in '96. I was still in high school at that time. He'd always had a passion for construction and development, and always wanted to build a hotel. And it's kind of a little funny story. We wanted to build a Quality Inn or a Days Inn. And I don't know if you're familiar with Westmont Hospitality Group, but they're a large private company. And we've known them, we're family friends with them. And my dad met with one of the, family members, and he was like, why don't you consider this brand called Hampton Inn? And, at that time it wasn't part of Hilton. It was still a growing brand under promise, but that was the best pivot that we could have made, was going with Hampton, because that was really a cash cow brand. And when Hilton bought it, then the brand exploded. So we got lucky there on the first hotel, which we opened in '96. And I joined up with my dad in 2006 to continue growing the company. And we built the company up to 8 hotels at its peak. And over the last couple of years, we sold a couple of assets. And as I mentioned earlier, kind of focus on the core of it. But him and I, he told me, I'm going to build one hotel with you and retire. And, he's still working full time, so it's been a great experience. It's definitely challenging and rewarding working with family. But, been here in the Houston hospitality industry for over 30 years. And so we've seen a lot of ups and downs, but overall, it's been a great industry for us. And we love being in the hospitality business.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm also a byproduct of a family business, so I know some of the great things, some of the challenges that you deal with, right? When you're dealing with when you
Challenges,
deal
to say it lightly. Yeah.
but it's a great thing to do, and it's great to have a second generation, third generation, possibly fourth
For
generation, and
sure.
kind of keep the history going. So
For sure.
I applaud you and your dad for doing that, and congrats to you for that.
Yeah, we
Um,
have a lot of family support, and our families are behind us, and spouses, and that's really important as well, because you'd really, it's a family business like that. Everyone has to sacrifice and make those sacrifices to be
yep.
successful. So we're blessed to have a really great family support as well.
So awesome, awesome. So tell me a little bit more. You jumped on it, or you touched on it a little bit when we were talking. Going into the pandemic, you guys had to kind of lay off folks and kind of cut costs, obviously, as everybody else did. Now that things seem to be turning the corner, right? How are things down in Houston? How are things, with your hotels? And are you guys benefiting and seeing some of the uptick in the industry right now?
So the our extended stay product is doing well, and I think that's common throughout the U.S. that the extended stay segment has continued to perform and has outperformed some of the other segments. It's primarily been on the weekends for us, the recovery we've seen, and I think occupancies are starting to crawl back, but the ADR, is still way lower than pre-level, and I think that's going to be a longer recovery on the ADR side, and that's where all the profit is, in the business, is on the ADR. It's
Hmm.
further challenged by labor shortages and labor issues, and that's a real challenge, real problem. Now some of the brands are finally starting to adopt this 5-day cleaning, like Hilton just rolled out or is going to be rolling out. No stay over cleaning. It's only once you stay 5 nights, do you get your room fully cleaned. And this
Right.
is in response to, I think everyone's hurting for cost, but also labor is not
Yeah.
available. And I've been reading and researching, and I think the general consensus is 30% of the people that used to be labor in the hospitality industry have migrated to other industries during the pandemic. So
Wow.
even when people start coming back to work, and benefits maybe start running out, we're still going to have a labor shortage, issue in our industry. And finding someone for $12 or $14 an hour to break their back and clean rooms, not a lot of people want to do that. I mean, housekeeping is the hardest job in the whole hotel, no matter what. If you've ever worked in housekeeping, you know that those guys work the hardest, and it's the most important job. So it's going to be interesting to see, even if demand picks up, how are we going to be operating moving forward. And you know 5 days or 7 day stays, to have your room clean is probably going to be the norm moving forward. But Airbnb, if you stay in an Airbnb, you don't ever get your room clean, right? So I think people are getting more used to that concept. And
Right.
when I travel, I don't want someone to come in if I'm just there one night. If I'm there for a few nights, I usually like to have someone come in. So, I think the
Right.
travel patterns are going to adjust as well, to the trends which are going on right now. And but we just have to continue to operate really lean and really keep costs down as much as possible. A lot of hotels still have lender relief in place, whether interest deferrals or you know those types of things, or PPP funds. All that stuff runs
Right.
out next year. So next year, it's going to be a whole new ball game, I think. And if business levels don't get back, it's still going to be a very challenging environment, I think. So we're being
Yeah.
really cautious and really careful on managing expenses. And even on the CapEx side, there is obviously some need for CapEx, but we're trying to delay some of those major things as much as possible, or push back on the renovations if it's not really needed. And the brands are realizing that and working with us. So it's still a kind of wait and see, but we are
Right.
seeing the leisure is definitely strong. Leisure group is definitely strong, but we're still waiting to see the corporate group and the corporate transient come back, which is 60% of our business.
Yeah. I think that's very accurate. I know a lot of the large institutional reach that we did work for prior to the pandemic, I think, you're absolutely spot on. They realized that they were going to be probably having to shutter hotels for a while. So capital was king. Um, any plans for renovation or capex type stuff kind of obviously got shelved until the things start to pick up, start to see a little bit better. But I personally believe that for the large institutional guys, it's going to be tied to how fast the business traveler comes back, because they need that Monday through Thursday, revenue, that ADR pickup for them to really justify spending lots of money, on their hotels in terms of trying to do renovations and things like that. Now, for the medium and small guys that may have had the money to do the renovation and the PIP work while the pandemic was going on, I think they make out like a bandit, because they'll be way ahead of the game when folks do finally start to come back. They have a nice shiny product, and probably get a lot more play in terms of folks wanting to stay there. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens now, especially with the Airbnb model and how that's kind of impacting hotel business, and then waiting for the business traveler to come back. That's interesting.
Let me ask you a question. The other thing about capital and renovations now is, with COVID and with all the different changes in F&B and public area spaces, Homewood just rolled out a brand new total prototype in response to this. So are the brands going to be redesigning the lobbies and the spaces and the hotels? And so does it even make sense to put a bunch of money in and they roll out a year later with, okay, here's the new prototype? So I'm worried about that as well. Like, I'm sure there's going to be changes that come down the pipeline in these prototype designs in relation to space and F&B and those types of things. So that's another question mark that's out there, is how will designs of these buildings change and requirements change based on what we went through in the pandemic? Or the air system is going to be required to be different? Is it more public space? Or I don't know what it is, but there's definitely going to be changes there for sure.
Oh yeah, and it's going to be a lot more things in terms of interaction that can be transacted right from your cell phone.
Right.
You won't have to engage necessarily with a human being, which, you think about it, right? In the hospitality business, we're all about engagement, right? So why would we not want to engage with our client or our guests if they're there?
Yeah.
So it really is kind of turning the model kind of upside down and saying, hey, you don't need to talk to us. All you need to do is pull out your iPhone or your your Android and just pull up the app. So the matter of fact, it's like, we had Ken Patel on, I think, a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about EV Human, where his platform is really taking everything and putting it in one spot. You order, you pay, you tip, you do kind of like everything in one little application. And I'm going, okay, so this is hospitality. We're used to meeting and greeting people and smiling and shaking people's hands, right? So it seems like it's gonna definitely
It's
be
gonna have to
different.
happen somewhere else in the hotel, that interaction. I've always thought the front desk is going to be obsolete eventually. I mean, if you already can check in from your phone, your key is on your phone, the TV, AC. So the front desk is kind of, you don't really need it at that point, right? I mean, maybe you need a concierge, or, and that's probably can be a computer, that you can pop there and be at the concierge, So I think that's the way it's going to go for sure. In the next 5 to 10 years, these front desks will be phased out. I mean, if the brands can find a way to cut labor and make it more efficient, and owners are going to want that, right? But then at the flip side is, well, when do you make that interaction, or when do you smile at that guest? So there'll be other ways that you'll have to engage at at breakfast, or maybe you have a concierge or something. But yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot more touchless and automated processes moving forward. For sure.
Right. Yep, absolutely. So tell us, so what do you guys think is the next step? What are you guys focusing on, say, for the rest of the year, going into 2022? What are you guys doing?
Yeah, rest of the year, we actually, we just had our monthly financial reviews, and, costs are people are wanting to start adding services back, and you're
Right.
starting to see costs uptick a little. And so I think it's really important for us to stay on top of our teams and our managers to control the cost and not get too crazy on bringing people back or bringing services back. I think that's going to be key. But that's really the focus for this year. And looking forward, the Airbnb model has changed our business. 1 out of every 3 bookings is an Airbnb. And I personally don't feel like the brands are doing enough to market against that. Airbnb spends more on marketing than like all the brands combined, I think. So does Expedia, something crazy like that. So, all of these guys are pulling away from our core business. And so you got to look at, well, how do we turn it back on them? Right. Well, it's for us, we love the industry. We love the hospitality industry, but we're finding different ways to, I think, engage in that and different opportunities, which, aren't as restrictive as maybe working with a brand, going
Right.
something independent or more of a hybrid model that gives you flexibility. But, I don't think hotels are ever going to go away, but I do think that the industry is going to change significantly. But we are bullish on, recovery, but what is that recovery going to look like for sure? So for us, we're just really trying to get through this year, keep the costs in line, focus on what any CapEx or renovations that we do have coming down the line, trying to plan that, a year or 2 out, to make sure we've got it planned for. We're concerned about the costs are super high for construction right now also, right? So we need to get over past this bubble and get stuff, get stuff down to a more reasonable level. So we're cautiously planning some of those things as well, but really focused on working with our sales teams and teams on the property to go out and get every piece of business that we can. And we want to be primed for when that travel really returns, that we're in the right position to take advantage of that. And that's going to be key for us.
Awesome. So do you guys take on management of just your hotels, or do you consider other folks management of properties if they're looking for a management company, or do you guys just kind of stay within your footprint?
No, we would consider that. Actually, a couple of years ago, though, we always used to self-manage our properties, but 2019, my father had some health concerns, and so we actually hired a third-party management company. So Aimbridge Hospitality manages our hotels right now. And so that's been a learning experience for us. We hired them, I think, a year before the pandemic. So, you're kind of learning a new company that's taking over your hotels, and then the pandemic hit. And so it's been a roller coaster experience with them, but they're, big company, a good company, and they've got a lot of resources. So it's actually been good during the pandemic that we've been working with them to actually hire more salespeople during the downturn so that we can get the best of the best that were out there and really build our sales teams to come back. And so that's really a good thing working with Aimbridge. They've got a very competitive package, and they've got a really good reach of candidates. And so we were able to really improve our sales team roster significantly over the last, 12 to 15 months, which has also helped us gain share at our properties and move ahead of the competition and some of the comp sets. So, it's prior to that, we manage all of our own properties, and we manage a couple of other properties, but we reformulated the way that we were managing the assets a couple of years ago, and we're still involved on an asset manager level, and we're still involved on the daily reporting side and all those things, but the day-to-day operations and accounting, all that stuff, we let them handle that, which has it's a good mix.
So you guys focus more on your sales. Do you guys also help folks if they're wanting to do new hotel development? Do you guys consult or anything like that with folks that are
we sure do. Yeah,
into?
we've been helping quite a few groups analyze hotel opportunities. A lot of people are trying to buy properties right now in the downturn, and so being in the industry for a while, a lot of people in the community and in Houston reach out, but we definitely are always looking to partner with people on good deals, and we're looking at a lot of different things right now, some in the hospitality world, some not, but we're always open to work with folks that need help or want to get into the business or want to buy a property or want to renovate a property, we're always available to help anyone out with that.
Man, that's awesome. So, man, I really appreciate you giving us a few minutes of your time today.
Sure.
If folks want to reach out to you for those services that you just mentioned, how do they find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Aly Valiani. You can go to our website, newhorizonshospitality.com, and any of those channels you can easily reach us. So we'll be happy to hear from anyone that needs that help.
And that's awesome. This has been Ted with another Ted's Hospitality Minute. Thanks so much for joining us. You guys have a great day.